Hey, what's a bro job between bros, you know?
I love it.
Who, what, where, why? Let's look at how you killed that guy. It's nice to meet you. Who, what, where, why? Let's look at how you did that crime. It's nice to meet you.
Welcome. This is Knife to Meet You. I'm Zoe. This is Lobo. This is our very special Knife to Meet You birthday edition because, as many of you probably do not know, we have the same birthday.
Yeah. So basically what we're going to do as a birthday celebration is we're going to tell you about our favorite serial killers. And it's going to be a time.
Even though they're a little bit more famous than our usual lineup.
We're going to try and tell you some new info. I learned a new thing just now today, so I'm real excited.
Hey man, if you haven't heard it, it's new to you.
Yeah, exactly. So, who wants to go first?
You go first. You're more
All right.
prepared. I need to like work myself up to it.
Perfect. So to lead in, hey Zoe, what does cannibalism, coprophilia, urophilia, and pedophilia have in common?
Oh my God.
Our next murderer does all of them. Ooh.
I don't even know what all of those are.
We're gonna find out. So I'm talking about Albert Fish.
We gonna learn today. Oh no.
Albert Fish is the craziest person I have ever had the pleasure of reading about. Everything about him is so cartoonishly villainous that I can't believe this was a real person who existed in the world, but he was. This occurred in the 1920s, basically was when the murder started, but he was weird way before that. So we're going to we're going to go into Albert Fish's life.
Your like diabolical laugh. It like just because you're so excited because it's a different laugh than your normal laugh. Like you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's a great dog meme laugh," is a very different laugh than your, "Oh yes, we're going to talk about
we're going to talk about some weird shit." Just it's not even the murder, it's just the weirdness.
It's about to get fucking weird.
Yeah, it's about to get real weird. So Albert Fish was born in 1870, and he was born as Hamilton. 1870, yes.
Back in the day. That's before they invented cars.
Yeah, that's nuts. He lived to see the invention of like so much shit. But yeah, so he was born.
Henry Ford, looked up in his newspaper one day and was like, "What's this? I hear about this Mr. Fish fellow." I don't know why I just gave him a British accent. Why in my mind is everyone from the 1800s British?
Because in like flashback episodes of every show ever, they're always British no matter what. But yeah, probably, honestly, most likely. He was known as the Gray Man and the Werewolf of Wisteria and the Brooklyn Vampire. So I guess, he must have had some kind of news coverage for people to give him a nickname.
Did you watch the Netflix series that they made out of Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House?
Yeah, I watched the first few episodes and then I kind of gave up on it because it started getting boring to me. But
what? No. Okay, I love Shirley Jackson to pieces. So like, she's just one of my favorite authors. But I don't know if you saw the ghost that like haunted the little boy, but like he's got a top hat and a walking cane and he's absurdly tall and he's kind of elderly looking and he's fucking terrifying.
Is that the little boy that grows up to be the drug addict?
Yes.
Luke. That's the episode I stopped watching because I was just like, what the fuck? This is boring. So does it get better?
It does. It gets so fucking creepy. Actually, it's very difficult. Like I wouldn't say it's very difficult to scare me because I've got some anxieties. I'm pretty scared all the time. Let's be real. But I was going to say, like, I I usually don't show visually, like physically, a reaction to being afraid. I usually just go very, very still. Like I freeze. My fight or flight reaction is to just no one move, no one breathe, no one, don't even think, just freeze. And there was a scene in that series that made me scream out loud. My dad came running.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I might have to go back and watch then, because like I like scary stuff. I stopped watching it because I was like, this is like that show This Is Us, but with ghosts also in the background.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Is it good?
It's like this really like sappy drama. Mandy Moore's in it. There's a lot of crying and a lot of people being sick and like just a lot of like
Mandy
it's
Moore
like a-
likes to be in films where someone's sick. Wasn't she in that
Yeah.
movie with Shane West where she had
Well, to
cancer?
remember. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that was a good movie though. But I don't think
All
that
I remember of
she's
that movie
sick.
is where she was like, I want to be in 2 places at once. That's on my bucket list. So he takes her to the state line.
Oh, that's cute. I forgot about that. No, the show that
That's
she's
all I
on now,
remember.
she's not sick, I don't think. I've only seen a couple episodes, but I read the like
But someone's got
recaps.
the cancer. You know it. Someone has
Yeah.
cancer.
I don't even know the plot. I just know that it's like one of those kind of shows.
Mm-hmm,
I don't know. I digress. Anyways.
Listen, here on Knife to Me Too, we don't stand on formality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's
Um,
good because it's good that we're having this moment of levity because we're about to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
real nasty in here. And
Yeah.
honestly, I would like to preface this with I'm gonna cackle the entire time I'm describing this, but it's not because I think murder is funny. It's just because
The level of ridiculousness.
the level it's just
It's
it's
so
like
ludicrous.
someone thought up the worst person or the worst villain that could ever
Yeah.
possibly exist, and this guy was like, "Nah, I got you. I'll beat that." And then
Hold
he
my
does.
beer.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And
Um,
but what I was going to say was that the ghost that haunts Luke in Haunting of Hill House with the top hat, and it's a bowler hat, actually. It's not a top hat. And the cane and the really long fucking legs, and he's terrifying. That is how I imagine Albert Fish in my head. That's why that was relevant. I didn't just randomly bring that up for no fucking reason, although that would be very in
does.
character for me.
Yeah, he looks like the kind of I haven't seen a picture of him in a top hat, but he seems like the kind of person that would have one
Yeah, I
and
don't
wear
know.
it unironically, like to the
Yeah.
grocery store.
I don't know. It just that's how I picture him in my brain, like as this creepy old man ghost with his long, spindly fucking legs and
Yeah. I mean, at that point, like
Oh, God.
he's like if people could be monsters, like actual monsters, like
all
the
monsters are
Bunch of
human,
Boogeymen,
right? Yeah, well, all
yeah,
monsters
he
are
would
people.
be one.
I think children stop being afraid of monsters under their bed when they realize that all monsters are really people.
That's like really profound. Did you just make that up right now? Because it's like deep. You should make like
I should
that's
start
like I mean
making
that's like the kind of stuff
inspirational
that I
posters.
yeah, kind of. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that like I see it on Facebook and I'm like, ooh, I'll sound smart if I repost this.
Yeah,
So
that's
hell
just
yeah.
my theory.
I mean it's true. Yeah.
When you realize you have a lot worse things to be afraid of in the night than whatever's under your bed.
Yeah.
I
Like
don't
for
know.
instance, serial killers who like to eat
Exactly.
poop.
Excellent
So,
segue, bringing us
yeah.
back around.
So just in case I was cackling too much, I'll just say it again. Albert Fish liked to participate in coprophilia, which is the eating of one's own fecal matter and the eating of other people's fecal matter.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know what that was.
Yep.
Oh,
And
oh,
urophilia is
oh, that one I know.
yeah. So that's PP. So Albert Fish
We get
was-
real technical on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Albert Fish was born in 1817 and
Wait, 1817 or 1870?
oh shit, 1870. My bad.
Okay.
Yes, May
Yeah.
19th, 1870. And so here's a fun little tidbit. His father was 43 years older than his mother. So just file that one away for future knowledge. Yep.
Now, how old was his mother?
It doesn't say in any of the stuff, but like I can't find her age, but
I mean, she would have to be at least 12 just to be able to physically have a child.
I think I mean, okay,
Which
so they
puts him in his
tried
50s.
to have
I don't know,
kids a
but
couple times.
back then in the late 1800s, people lived until they were like 50, and that was a ripe old age. And then it was like, I got the black lung pop, and then they dropped dead. And that was what it was.
That's true. And I mean, by the time Albert Fish was born, he was the youngest of all their kids, and they had like a couple dead ones that didn't make it because this was back in the day when
Yeah.
there wasn't great medical care, whatever. So he had 3 siblings, and then it was Albert Fish. So he was the 4th. And he was born as Hamilton Fish, because his dad, I guess, named him after a distant relative. But after a while, Albert decided to name himself Albert because he wanted to get away from his schoolyard nickname of Ham and Eggs.
Oh my god.
So
Can we please just call him Ham and Eggs for the rest of this episode?
Oh, don't worry. I intended to. Old Ham and
good.
Eggs really hated that nickname.
I think we should go full ham on this one and eggs.
Oh. I mean, okay, so Albert Fish's situation was a little interesting. His dad dies, right? And his mom,
Of
I
course,
guess,
because by the time he was popped out of the
Old
womb,
as
the guy
fuck.
was already like, oh, I've got the dysentery,
Yeah.
bye-bye. Like,
so that's what happened. His dad died, and then his mom, so his mom couldn't afford to keep him. So she gave him to an orphanage. I think only him. It doesn't say anything about the siblings going to the orphanage. I think it was just old Ham and Eggs there.
maybe she didn't want the orphanage to like judge her, so she found like all the nearby orphanages and was like, you get a baby and you get a baby.
I mean, it doesn't even say.
Everybody
I'm
gets
pretty
a
sure she
baby.
kept the other ones. But what's really good to note about the orphanage is that's where he started getting his proclivities. So it was
So was he like
olden
horribly,
times.
horribly abused because you
Yeah,
don't
he
become
was.
this way?
Well, so he was, but then he found out that he liked it. So he would get erections while getting beaten by the orphanage people. So he would
Kinky.
act out so that they would, I mean, yeah, like he would act out so that they would hit him so that he could get erect. And this was at a young age. He was frequently whipped and beaten and discovered that he was into physical pain. So that was in 1875 when his father died and his mom put him in the orphanage. Then in 1879, his mother got a good job and got him back. But by then, the damage had been done.
So how long was he in the orphanage?
From 1875 until 79. So 5 years. I'm bad at math. His mom got him back. Yeah, it'll be fine. So yeah, I guess he was 12 when he had his
If he was
first.
born in 1870, then he must have been 5 when he was dropped off.
Yeah, he was 5. So from the ages of 5 to, let me do math so that I don't say something stupid. So
You said 79, so he would have been 9.
Yeah, he would be 9 years old.
So he was there for 4 years.
Yes, so 4 years.
Ooh,
but his mom
that's
gets a
long
good job,
time,
a good
especially for a
government
child.
job. Yeah, and I guess he was viciously abused, which is very sad. But anyway, so his mom gets him back, and then he came back a little different than when he left home, as it were.
Don't we all?
Yeah. So in 1882, he was 12 years old, and he started a homosexual relationship with a telegraph boy, which I think is a newspaper delivery boy. Or maybe one of those like, hear ye, all about it.
No. So telegraphs at the time were like the instant messaging of the age. They would send a telegraph using electrical impulses through wires, and they'd have a man who was trained to do the codes, and it would be like boop, 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 boop,
Okay,
boop, boop, boop,
okay, I know what that is. All right.
And then there would be another guy on the other line to receive the code, and then he would translate that into a message, and then a telegraph boy would deliver the message to whomever it was intended for. So it was like, boop, 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 boop.
Okay.
Your mother smelled of elderberries, and your father was I don't know, whatever.
Father was a
however that
hamster,
goes.
and your mother smelled of elderberries.
Yeah. And then,
So one of those.
go deliver this.
That's good to know, because I did not Google what a telegraph was, because I thought I knew. This is a lesson for all of you out there. If you think you know what something is, just Google it anyway.
I feel like this has been Obscure Trivia Corner with Zoe, which will probably be a recurring corner on our show, because my knowledge is pretty much exclusively trivial. and will never help me in life ever at all. Continue.
But it helped today. So he starts this homosexual relationship with the telegraph boy, and the
Mm.
telegraph boy is who taught ham and eggs, old Albert, how to eat his own poop and drink his urine and
What the
get real
fuck is wrong
nasty.
with this
Yep.
telegraph boy?
Yeah, I have no idea. So
Ah.
around the same time, Albert began to visit public baths so that he could watch boys undress, and he spent a lot of his time, his free time, just going to the bathhouse and eating poop with his boyfriend,
As one does.
as one does. You know, just normal
Naturally.
youthful activities.
God, this is so uncomfortable. We really
Yeah.
should not have eaten right before this.
Oh, it gets
Why did we
worse.
think that was a good call?
It gets worse.
Is it too late to go
So-
first?
I mean-
God, I'm just like gagging a little bit.
Well, I mean, I'll stop talking about the
Whew.
poop eating. Like we
Yep.
get the idea. But so fast forward a little bit to 1890, and he moves to New York City and became a male prostitute, again, as one does.
Hmm.
So
Well, you know,
he,
actually, I've known some male prostitutes, some male sex workers who were just like super duper nice dudes.
I mean,
they,
yeah,
like-
it's a valid profession.
They just kind of hate themselves though. And it's like
Yeah.
sad because some of them are actually like super wonderful people. And it's just like, why? Why do you feel this way about yourself?
Honestly, probably because of the stigma surrounding it, which was probably caused by people like Albert Fish becoming prostitutes.
I don't know.
It's neither here nor there, but yeah. So around this time, Albert, he was working as a prostitute in New York City, and he
An
started
escort.
raping.
I'm
I was gonna
sorry.
say escort, but he's not classy enough for that. Like, this is
Really? You don't think you could see him like on Donald Trump's arm in like a full tux or like a Jessica Rabbit dress? Just who's your friend, Mr. Trump? Oh, this is the old ham and eggs.
Oh yes. Oh God. So around this time, he also started abducting and raping young boys.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Did things not go
so
well with the telegram boy?
Apparently, they just didn't. I guess they just
Didn't work out.
didn't
Young
work
love.
out. But eventually his mother arranged a marriage for him because at this point,
Oh,
I guess
wow.
she was just like, you know what, I'm gonna try. So in 1898, he got married to a lady who was 9 years younger than him, which, you know, by his standards, like his father was 43 years older than his mother, so he probably
yeah.
didn't blink an eye at that. So he married this lady, and then they had 6 kids together, whose names were Albert,
Wow.
Anna, Gertrude, Eugene, John, and Henry Fish. And then he was arrested for embezzlement in 1903, and he did 2 years in
What?
prison. Yep.
Wait, I need you to back up. He was just like spontaneously arrested for embezzlement. We got to be like, okay, so he was embezzling where, with whom, how, why? Do we have any information about that?
I didn't look it up. I found the fact that he was arrested for embezzlement and was like, oh, that's interesting, but then I didn't write
Yeah,
down
because of
the rest
criminal
of it.
variety, but
Yeah.
wow.
But yeah, so like not arrested for a rape related offense or a murder. He was at first arrested for embezzlement. And so in 1903, he went to prison in Sing Sing. And it has been noted in many a document that he had sex with lots of dudes in prison.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's I mean, where you're wallowing in your own filth and surrounded by horny dudes. And getting beaten on the regular by prison guards who are presumably in uniforms, which I think he'd probably be into. That's like that's his sandals, you know?
Yeah,
That's his like Norwegian cruise, you know?
basically. Like,
Yeah.
So he did some years in prison. Then he worked as a house painter. And he apparently kept molesting kids while working as a house painter. Mostly boys under the age of 6 years old. So these are not even adolescents.
Oh, he was definitely molested at the orphanage for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
yeah. So he was, yeah. I mean, the cycle generally continues, and we can kind of make inferences. But yeah, he was horrifically abused at the orphanage, and I'm sure that's what caused it. But
Hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it was also he told, I guess, a reporter this anecdote about like how he once went to a wax museum and he saw like this like I don't know what bisection of a dick, like I guess it was like a model of a dick like cut in half to where you could see like the insides or some shit. But around that time he became interested in castration.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so around
Can we just pause and address the disturbing visual of serial killer Albert Fish, who's just horrifying like on his own, in a wax museum,
yeah.
staring at a vivisected penis.
Yep. Yeah, just and probably with a giant erection because he was
Mm,
into that.
mm, mm.
So just let that thought marinate for a minute as I tell you this fun one. So he had a fascination with castration for most of his life and that started to trickle over into his dalliances with men because he would have little boyfriends while he was married to I didn't look up his wife's name.
She bore him 6 children, was married to this guy, this poor woman, and we didn't even get her name. Good God.
Sorry. I mean, she divorces him eventually, so
Get it, girl.
yeah, like you go. So basically he developed this fascination with castration and he started dating this one guy who he attempted to castrate after tying him up.
Estella.
And then
That was her name, was Estella.
okay, Estella. Well, on the bright side, Estella gets away.
Yay.
His so yeah, he I guess had a little dalliance with a boyfriend and tried to cut his dick off, and the guy
Jesus
escaped.
fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Did he go to the
so
cops?
then- no. I
What?
mean, that was back in the day. I mean, like he didn't get caught or brought in for that, so I assume that the guy never told anyone. But I also like you couldn't be gay back in those times, or you probably get like arrested for being gay.
What?
Like, what was he gonna say? Like, yeah, I was like having this really great time with my boyfriend, and then he just ties me up, and I thought, ooh, kinky. But then he took out a knife and tried to cut off my dick. Like, you can't really, probably not say that.
I yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm sitting here trying to think, what would I say? Like, what lie would I make up to tell the cops that my boyfriend tried to cut off my penis without letting them know that I was a gay young man dating an older creepy dude?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was, in a urinal shaking it off, and I turn around, this dude's there with a pair of scissors. What can I tell you? Like,
honestly, like back in those days, people probably still would have been like, sounds gay. But yeah, there's really there's no heterosexual explanation for like someone unsuccessfully castrating someone else.
And you couldn't be like, I mean, because I like to jokingly say all the time, I'm not being serious. For anyone who's going to listen to this and get all bent out of shape, I always say nothing's gay as long as you yell Slayer while you're doing it.
Wait, why? Slayer?
The band Slayer. Yeah, just because I think the joke, it's not my joke. It's like an internet.
Like you have to know the
thing,
band
but like,
to get the joke, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, it's just because they're like a death metal band, so there's like nothing more testosterone-y than the other San Francisco treat. Than like a super like doom metal band. So like, how you gonna be like, you can have swords crossed as long as you say Slayer while you're doing it.
Perfect.
You can do whatever you got to do, man.
Hey, what's a bro job between bros?
I love it.
Do you get it? Do you get it? That was
I
bad.
do. I love it.
Ugh. Anyway, so Estella, Albert Fish's wife, got fed up with his bullshit after a while and dumped him in 1917. And
how do you think that went? Do you think that he came home from work and she was like, "I've packed my things. I'm going to my mother's"?
She actually got with the handyman that was living on their property, John Staub.
Oh, damn. I bet you Albert was jealous. I bet you the old ham and eggs wanted it on that.
Old ham and eggs was not happy. So she like moved out with this guy, and I guess Albert Fish, he raised those kids, so I guess she just fucked off. I don't know. But after that incident, Albert started hearing voices
Oh God.
And here's the anecdote that I can't find any more fucking information about, and I'm so upset about it. There's
Okay.
one just he once wrapped himself up in a carpet, like a rug, I guess, and said he was following the instructions of John the Apostle. I have no other context for this. I don't know. I think Gertrude, his kid, was the one that said this in some interview, but I can't find any other information aside from the fact that he just rolled himself up in a carpet and was like, John the Apostle told me to. So that's just doing
There's just
that as one does, I
Gertrude
guess.
sitting there doing her homework, reading a book, sitting in the window. It's a nice day. There's a breeze. There's birds outside. And then from the basement, she just hears a muffled, John, what do I do now?
Honestly, that's probably what happened. This motherfucker was like real weird. Also, around this time, he started getting into like poking his dick with pens, like sewing pens, like
Writing?
just sticking them in
Pens.
there. Yeah.
Like pins and needles. I thought you meant pens like that you write with. I was like,
No.
what?
Like actual pens, like pokey pens. And
I actually, from another podcast, I learned that, and maybe this isn't right, I shouldn't say I learned, but I heard in another podcast that he used to stick needles or pins up in his urethra and keep them there.
yeah, he I wrote down the number. How many pens did he die with in his dick? Let me see how many pens.
Oh my God, he could never get an MRI.
I'm gonna find it. Like I have Albert Fish.
But I do want to say, I just want to backtrack for a second and say that when Estella left him, she probably did not have legal rights to her own children.
That's true.
And he probably kept them and refused to give them to her because he saw them as his property and his right, or he wanted to abuse them.
Oh, I found the number of that. Well, he never abused his kids. That's the one thing. He was apparently a good father. He was weird as fuck, but he never hurt them, ever. So that's the report, and that's what the children are saying. But like all of the kids, like if you look up at interviews and stuff, they're all just kind of like, yeah, he was a good guy. I don't know. So it's like I could believe that, I guess. I also found the number of needles that he died. Or no, after the arrest. So I guess they didn't let him keep the needles in there. He had 29 needles in his dick. He also had this habit where he would put wool. So just picture this. He got some wool, right? And he would get some lighter fluid, and then he would stick the wool up his butthole and light it on fire.
He turned himself into a human Molotov?
Yup. That was something that he did around this time. This was when he started getting into the wild and crazy business. He didn't ever die. I don't understand how he didn't die from that, but he yeah. But I guess when they arrested him, they probably took out his dick needles, so I don't think he was allowed to keep those. I'm sorry.
Can you imagine the person, the police officer who's working in like the booking station who has to log evidence, and they're just like cataloging on a clipboard like, 1 coat, 1 pair of pants, 2 socks, 29 penis needles?
Oh, and if you look at the pictures, you can see them.
You can see the penis needles?
Yeah, because they showed
not in his penis though, separate from the penis, right? Please tell me they were separate from the penis. Please tell me they were extracted from the penis.
Well, no, you can see the X-rays of his
penis
and his perineum, which I think is the gooch region. He used to stick them in
his perineum is in between. Yeah, it's
so I'm so sorry.
What did you call it?
The gooch.
Gooch?
I think so. I've never had to like write out gooch.
Okay. I like how
I've always heard it called that, but like
okay.
I looked at the perineum area, but you can see the x-rays online, and there's like 12 needles that you can actively see, like count like 1, 2, 3. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. So oh, and the dude who taught him how to get into like oh no, that's another guy. Okay, the guy that he tried to castrate was Thomas Kedden. He also tried to force him to eat poop with him and whatnot, which it doesn't say whether they necessarily did. But he kept this dude like tied up in his house for 2 weeks and then cut off half of his dick I wanted to look this up so that I give you the right information because I feel like this is important. He, yeah, cut off half of his penis. And Albert Fish is recorded as saying, "I shall never forget his scream or the look he gave me," about that. Yeah. And then I guess the guy got
I
out.
have literally nothing to say to that.
Yeah. Uh,
And your masterful impression of it.
I just feel like he would have a creepy voice like that. But so he, instead of finishing the castration or killing him as he had intended, the victim's name was Thomas Kedden. And so instead of killing Kedden, he just wrapped his cut up penis in a Vaseline covered handkerchief, left him a $10 bill, and just left. And about it, Fish has said, "I took the first train I could get back home. I never heard what became of him or tried to find out." About Thomas Kedden. So he chopped off this dude's dick, wrapped it in a handkerchief, and just left.
And pieced out.
Yeah, but he left him a $10 bill, which I guess was probably a lot of money back then. So that doesn't make it better at all.
Not if he fucking bleeds out in the goddamn basement. It's not.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
But yeah.
Sorry, I just yelled at you guys. I didn't. Oh my god. I'm just.
But yeah, so then his wife around this time dumps him for the handyman, and old Fishy gets into shoving needles in his groin, his abdomen. He would do the lighter in the butt situation. He also used to hit himself with a nail-studded paddle while I guess saying like talking to like religious figures and hearing voices and talking back to the voices, which his kids did witness that stuff. They did witness him doing
as much as they say they had he was a good father, they did not have a normal childhood. They have so many issues. They probably have more, but like the thing about this narrative that you've been telling beautifully, I might add, is that it just seems like Albert Fish had such an unusual upbringing that he had no concept of what was normative. And so therefore, like his concept of reality is just so warped. And like, I don't have an end to this thought. That just the whole situation, like he obviously fucked up those kids, even if he didn't do it intentionally.
Yeah.
Even if he was the best possible father that he was capable of being, I just don't think he had the capability of raising 5 children without fucking them up.
Yeah. I mean, he had no chance. I mean, like, well, actually, no, plenty of people survive plenty of terrible things and they don't go around murdering people and eating poop.
Yeah.
And
I mean, weren't there other children in that orphanage? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
probably ones who were there a lot longer than he was. He was only there 4 years. What about the kids whose parents died? They didn't have anyone coming back to get them.
Yeah.
The older they got, the less likely they were to be adopted. I'm just going off on a rant. I'm sorry. Continue.
It's all good. I mean, so around this time, he. Oh, I wish I didn't read that. I was looking back through the notes and I forgot that I had written this down. So one thing that old Fishy did do, which this is child abuse, I think, was that he would hand his kids the paddle and tell them to hit him with it.
That's girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Ew. So, and not even only but like their friends and stuff that would come over after school. Like, I guess he would just be there and he'd be like, "Let's play a game," and like hand them the paddle and they would just like hit him with it on the like legs and butt and stuff. But like I would say that's child abuse. So yeah, that's gross. So he did that. And then also around this time, he's hearing voices of religious figures that he thinks like angels are talking to him. He started becoming fascinated with cannibalism. And he started eating raw meat and serving his kids raw meat. So he would
yeah, tell me again how great of a dad this guy was.
Yeah, I just ugh.
Our dad was fine. He was just really into sushi.
Yeah. So, he ate raw meat. He was into, sadomasochism, what have you. And so then he started that started not being enough. And then so 1919 happens. So 1917 was when he got divorced, and I guess in the 2-year period he just got crazier and crazier. And then in 1919 he stabbed a mentally disabled boy in Georgetown. Fish tended to choose people that were mentally handicapped to attack.
Probably because he felt like he could overpower them more easily and because they were less likely to rat him out. And
His
because even if they did rat him out,
Yeah.
people were less likely to believe them.
That's exactly why, like, he said that people would not miss a mentally retarded person if he killed them. And he said the same thing about African American victims as well.
Yeah.
So he had what he would call his implements of hell, which was a meat cleaver, a handsaw, and a butcher knife. And he started killing kids. He also would pay kids to bring him other children. So like if a boy was older, he would like pay them to like bring him like a younger boy. Just really bad stuff.
Did he exclusively kill little boys?
Yeah, for a while, and then it stops. So in 1924, Fish started saying that he felt like God was commanding him to murder and torture and sexually mutilate children. So apparently that was his belief at that time. So he breaks into this one family's barn, who their daughter Beatrice was. He like sees this girl playing on the farm, and he like tried to befriend her, and then the mom chased him away. So the mom was like, "Nah, fuck that." Yeah, so good on the mom, but he returned later that night in their barn, and then he got discovered again and was forced to leave. But yeah, that's just he started getting more, I guess, I don't know how you would call it.
Daring.
Just yeah, daring, exactly. Like he started it like because when you think about it, people always want to escalate stuff, right? So like you start out with murder and then you decide, well, no, maybe I need to do this and torture someone or like escalate and escalate. It seems like.
Yeah, they got to test their boundaries. But like we discussed in the first episode with Richard Cottingham, when you have a psychopath who's got kind of a strong narcissistic streak, and really all psychopaths are narcissists in some capacity or another, a lot of them experience narcissistic immunity, with this sense that they have that they're so much better and smarter and more clever and more powerful than anyone because they're doing these things and they're getting away with it, and they think they're different. And so they think the police can never catch them. They think nothing will ever stop them because they feel all powerful.
It definitely makes sense. So yeah, he started escalating. He got almost caught a couple times. Like he took some boys back to his house, and I guess they saw his murder weapons under his bed. They left and fled and stuff. So he had a couple near misses, but he started getting a little bit braver every time. Which brings us to May 25th of 1928.
It's my
So
sister's
he was
birthday.
oh, oh.
No, that's my brother's birthday. My sister's is the
Ugh.
28th.
That's oh. Well, so he was reading a newspaper and he found a like a job wanted ad by Edward Budd, with basically young man, 18, wishes position in the country. So then Fish or Albert Fish goes 2 days later to their house to visit them. So he went to visit the
Oh,
Budd
I
family
remember this. Oh my gosh.
under the
Yeah.
pretense of hiring Edward Budd, the young man.
Mhm.
So he originally wanted to go up there and then tie Edward up and mutilate him and leave him to bleed to death, which is a direct quote by Albert Fish, apparently. But he, I guess, decided not to. He pretended to be a man named Frank Howard, pretended to be a farmer, and he said that he would hire Edward Budd and his friend and would send for them in a few days. So he never actually showed up again. He never came back to hire them. And then a couple days went by and he sent them a letter being like, "I'm so sorry. I will like explain." And I guess he sent them a letter being like, "I need to come back for on a later date," which I guess is because he was plotting. Because then Fish comes back to their house and he meets Grace Budd, who is the young daughter
How old
of
is she?
She's 8 years old.
Oh no 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 no.
Yeah. Um, so I guess he abducts Grace. So he kidnaps Grace, but the police arrest someone else for the
So
kidnapping.
so he kidnaps her, but her parents aren't aware that he is the one who has kidnapped her.
Yeah. So then
I guess it wouldn't matter. He used a fake name anyway.
yeah.
He's like, I'm
So
Regina Phalange. You can't catch me.
years go by, years and years. So she dies in 28, and then in November of 1934, the Buds get an anonymous letter sent to their house. And
Oh no! Why? Why would he do that?
yeah, crazy people are nuts. Basically, this is awful. So Mrs. Budd, the mom, was illiterate, so the son had to read her the letter out loud, which is awful. But here's the letter that they received, which is I'm just reading what he legitimately wrote them. My dear Mrs. Budd, in 1894, a friend of mine shipped as a deckhand on the steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davis. They sailed from San Francisco to Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he and two others went ashore and got drunk. When they returned, the boat was gone. At that time, there was a famine in China. Meat of any kind was from $1 to $3 a pound. So great was the suffering among the very poor that all children under 12 were sold to the butchers to be cut up and sold for food in order to keep the others from starving. A boy or girl under 14 was not safe in the street. You could go in any shop and ask for steak, chops, or stew meat. Part of the naked body of a boy or girl would be brought out and just what you wanted cut from it. A boy or girl's behind, which is the sweetest part of the body and sold as veal cutlet, brought the highest price. John stayed there so long he acquired a taste for human flesh. On his return to New York, he stole two boys, one 7, one 11, took them to his home, stripped them naked, and tied them in a closet and burned everything they had on. Several times every day and night, he spanked them, tortured them to make their meat good and tender. For ew. First, he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass and, of course, the most meat on it. Every part of his body was cooked and eaten except head, bones, and guts. He was roasted in the oven, in quotations, all of his ass, boiled, broiled, fried, and stewed. The little boy was next, went the same way. At that time, I was living at 409 East 100th Street, rear right side. He told me often how good human flesh was, and I made up my mind to taste it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called on you at 406 West 15th Street. Brought you pot, cheese, and strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat in my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her on the pretense of taking her to a party. You said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would get her blood on them. When all was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid in the closet until she was in the room. When she saw me naked, she began to cry and tried to run upstairs. I grabbed her and she said she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death, then cut her into small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook, and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was, roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her, though. I could have, had I wished. She died a virgin. So that's the letter that he sent them that the son had to read to the mother. So
Jesus fucking H Christ.
yeah. So basically the story about the quote unquote famine and shit, but the part of the letter about the murder of Grace was apparently accurate afterwards. Because the
So
description
he
of the
just
kidnap
made up this whole thing about this famine in Hong Kong.
to justify being a cannibal, yeah.
And he made up
Yeah.
this dude, John, who
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah. So it was apparently they were unable to confirm whether or not he had eaten of Grace's body, but let's be real, like this guy, like I'm sure he did. So yeah, the letter was developed in an envelope that had like the letters NYPCBA representing New York Private Shippers Benevolent Association.
Mhm.
And so they investigated that, and then a janitor at the company told the police that he had taken someone's stationery home, but left it at the rooming house at 200 East 52nd Street when he moved out. And then
Mhm.
that's where Fish was staying. So he got that basically he got the stationery from there. It was already there, but the investigator basically figured out like Fish was there and waited for him till he returned, and then Albert Fish agreed to go down to the station for questioning, and then tried to stab the cop with a razor blade that was waiting for him, which was Detective William F. King, or chief investigator. Uh, so then they fought, and King disarmed Fish and took him to the station, and he just confessed to everything. Um, he even said that he intended to go to the Bud house and kill Edward first. But he made a point of saying that he never raped the girl and he didn't even think about rape. Um, but apparently, what he told his attorney was that while he was strangling her, he had an erection the whole time. Somehow that's worse. Ugh.
I don't
But
think it's worse. I think it's better, personally.
yeah, but that information was used at trial to make the claim that the kidnapping was sexually motivated. So he was convicted on that rather than on the cannibalism stuff, I guess. They focused more on the sexual like depravity and like this guy gets off on killing children and all of that. So yeah. So then he was obviously convicted. And they found out that he had killed a lot of other people. Francis McDonnell, a 9-year-old, Bill Gaffney, a 3-year-old. Just, ugh. And he wrote a bunch of letters to his attorney describing his crimes. So it's not even like this guy was trying to get out of it. But yeah, so he got executed. Obviously, he got convicted. The trial began in 1935 in New York. Basically, they got a bunch of psychiatrists to evaluate him during the trial, and they spent a lot of time talking about his fetishes, which included, here's the list: sadism, masochism, flagellation, exhibitionism, voyeurism, picarism, cannibalism, coprophagia, urophilia, pedophilia, and infibulation, which infibulation is really gross. That's when you remove it's like what's that thing when you're like in an I don't want to say that. They take the skin of the vagina off of the vagina and take the vulva out. That's infibulation apparently. Um so yeah, apparently he was into that and performed that on some of his other victims. And picarism is when you put needles in the skin. So that's the dick needles situation. Ugh. Gross. So basically, Albert Fish testified that he was hearing voices and like God was telling him to murder and rape children. Um, so basically, it was determined by the psychologist at the trial that Fish believed that sacrificing a young boy would be penance for his sins and somehow make him cleaner. I don't get it. I don't really get the logic there, but
I think trying to look for logic in this situation at all is
yeah. Well, apparently, like this guy's religious, right? So like they said that the cannibalism was basically his stand-in for communion, which makes me so ugh, just angry. That's awful. So yeah. But it was determined that he was insane. Like that's literally what the
he sounds like
psychiatrist
he's
said.
severely schizophrenic.
Yeah. So he but the thing is they had a rebuttal witness that worked at a psychiatric hospital that he was, I guess, evaluated at that said that he was abnormal but sane. Basically, it was determined that Albert Fish had similar perversions to other people. He just acted on them, which obviously, like, the acting on is the problem. But basically, they were able to kind of get on the level that, like, yes, he's crazy, but like he's also this bad person that did these things. So he got sentenced to death. So apparently the jurors decided that Albert Fish was insane, but they also decided that he should die anyway, so they ruled him like guilty but not insane. So they found him to be sane legally and guilty. Um, and they ordered him to the death sentence. And so that was in 1935. And so in 1936, January of 1936, he was executed in the electric chair. Um, he he helped the executioner position the electrodes on his body. And his last words were, "I don't even know why I'm here." And according to the witnesses, it took 2 jolts to kill Albert Fish. Um, and the rumor is that he had so many needles just up in his body that it like messed with the electrocution situation.
That makes sense.
Um,
That actually tracks.
but apparently it's been like disputed. Like people don't think that's really the reason why. But witnesses at the scene said that he got shocked twice. But ugh. He had left a final statement with his lawyer, which was just a lot of just garbage. And the lawyer, I guess, determined that he's never going to show it to anyone. He said, quote, "It was the most filthy string of obscenities that I had ever read." So I guess he had the memoirs of Albert Fish, but he didn't share it, which is probably a wise decision on his part. But yeah, he killed definitely 3 people: Francis McDonnell, Billy Gaffney, and Grace Budd. But it's suspected that he also killed Emma Richardson, Yetta Abramowitz, Robin Liu, Mary Ellen O'Connor, and Benjamin Collings. The latter 2 are 16 and 17 respectively, but the other ones are children.
It's a little old
Um,
for him.
yeah, I think it was just I don't know. He also seemed like the kind of person that would just do stuff that happened to be like
There.
yeah, like something's close by, so like ooh, better murder. I don't know, but yeah, that's Albert Fish and he is possibly the worst monster to ever walk this earth, but like the details of the case are just cartoonishly awful. Like ugh.
Horrific.
And I forgot how awful that Grace Budd letter. Like it's one thing to read it, but another thing to say it out loud. Like I feel like I need to
Just
take like 7 in the
imagining, what
shower.
was his name, Edward, having to read that to his mother.
Yeah, just so many levels of no, just awful, awful. But yeah, so that's Albert Fish. He's your friendly neighborhood poop eating serial killer.
Cold
I
night,
just
with fire in the fireplace, deadly silent, and he's sitting there with the paper in his hands, and he's scanning the page, and his parents are like, "Well, tell us what it says," and he's like, "I don't think I want to," and it's just, yeah.
yeah, just but yeah, so he's probably the first serial killer that I ever like learned about. Like I had this I probably shouldn't have had it, but like I used to have this like documentary series like of DVDs on serial killers and he was one of them. Um just so much weird shit in this case. There's more like that I didn't really like just like the details. Like if you go everyone should just go and read all the details.
No,
'Cause
you
it's
shouldn't. We
nuts.
should all just never read any of this or address it ever again. This is awful.
Or yeah, or that.
Okay,
but,
so I have to ask you, why is he your favorite though?
just because I don't know. In terms of serial killers, I don't know if I would say like any of them is my favorite, but like he's the most interesting to me. He's the one that's like just
Because he's such a puzzle. He's so
yeah,
fucking weird.
just like
And
what the fuck?
it's just so bat guano crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like every 5 seconds
I can
reading his
respect
stuff,
that.
I'm just like, who does that? What the fuck is wrong with
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, it's just like exponentially larger degrees of what the fuckery as you get like into it.
Yeah, like just it's very
Oh, that's-
interesting. Like if this was like a horror movie, it would be an interesting movie. But like the fact that it happened in real life is
I could not
horrifying.
watch it. I could not watch it.
Yeah.
I could write that movie, could not watch it.
Yeah, just ugh. And apparently like his kids like just went to the end of their natural life just being like, no, he never hurt us, never did. He very clearly yeah, I can't find it. I found this one website that says where they're at, where are they now? And kind of went into their life. I cannot find it. now. But yeah, like they defended him and stuff. He had kind of a contentious relationship with the boys, I guess, but like the girls were like he allegedly loved his kids. I don't know. But yeah, this motherfucker was nuts. I have to wonder like why I mean like you said, like probably his ex-wife couldn't have kept the kids if she had wanted to, because back in the day like women didn't have rights or whatever. But
Yeah, no, they didn't have legal. I actually believe back then that women did not have the legal ability to own property. So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so that was Albert Fish. It was nice to meet you, and I
It
guess
was really not. This one was just
yeah,
really
just
tough.
real bad, real
Oh, bad.
nasty. But we made it through. Let me go ahead and
We did. We did it.
yes, made it out the other side, and now we never have to talk about him again,
Yeah.
except like passing jokes. But yeah,
Wow. Okay, that was pretty horrible, but also amazing. So, thank you so much, and join us next week for the other half of our birthday spectacular, where I will be presenting my favorite serial killer, favorite like in quotation marks. But thank you so much for joining us. Bye.
Who, what,